Hello everybody, bit of an unexpected video here. I recently did the video on how to configure your own Framework Laptop 16 and then like 2 days later I learned that Framework had a new model available, a new generation of the Framework Laptop 16, making my previous video pretty pointless. So why not dive right into the new Framework Laptop 16? I'm gonna enable Dark Reader for a bit because I like having a dark theme. But let's get into the video. And this video is, I'm gonna try to be a bit shorter, so we're really gonna focus on what's different and the new options. If you want to know more about things that didn't change, like memory, storage, operating system, and so on, watch my previous video. But in this, I'll still handle this, but it will be a lot quicker and briefer. Now, here we have the configurator for the new Framework Laptop 16, and if you're interested in buying one but don't know what options to pick, then in this video I'm going to help you through it. We're going to go through it step by step. Now, first of all, one of the things we can do, like when we're on this page, is we can scroll up a little bit, and here we see that the old Framework Laptop 16 is still available for order, and we can get it with a nice 8% discount. If you don't need the latest and greatest, that's definitely a great option, and you can save, have a very nice 8% discount. I mean, that's almost 10%, right? So saving a bit of money, never a bad thing. But if you want to order the new one, then there are some new options, and we're going to go through them. And it starts with picking a system, which basically comes down to picking a CPU. We have two options here. The more expensive option is 340 euros more expensive, but in the previous Framework laptop, the differences between the two chips was so small that I wondered why Framework was even bothering to give an option at all. It really begged the question, why? Because the differences were minute. Not so here. These options are actually quite a bit different. The cheaper option has 8 cores, the more expensive option has 12 cores, but be aware, both options have 4 full-size Zen 5 cores, but the cheaper option has 4 extra Zen 5 compact cores, while the other one has 8 Zen 5 compact cores. So the difference is that with the more expensive option, you're getting 4 extra Zen 5 compact cores, not full-size cores. So the difference is a bit smaller than you might expect. And according to AMD, the compact cores are about 25% slower than full-size cores, like very roughly. Don't put too much into it. The more expensive option is also 100 megahertz, has a 100 megahertz faster boost clock. And actually, the more expensive option has twice the number of graphics cores. So if you're not gonna get a separate GPU for the expansion bay module, then the graphics capabilities of the more expensive CPU are actually quite a bit better on the more expensive option. So that is interesting and something to consider. But I'd recommend for most people just go for the cheaper option. 8 cores is plenty fast, and those extra cores are mainly gonna be of benefit when you're doing productivity workloads. So if you're not doing a lot of productivity tasks, if you're a gamer, if you're somebody that does office work, if you just do some browsing and video watching and those kind of things, go for the cheaper one. It's fine. Then the expansion bay module, which is basically an option to pick a GPU. I'd never have expected it, but we now have the option of picking an NVIDIA graphics card. And that offers quite a few advantages. So first of all, NVIDIA has always been better at ray tracing than AMD, although AMD has been closing the gap quite a bit with their new generation. For the framework, we only have the older generation, the 7000 series, instead of the 9000 series, where the gap between AMD and NVIDIA is still quite big when it comes to ray tracing. Also, like the 7000 series only has FSR 3, and DLSS4 of NVIDIA is a lot better compared to FSR 3. Again, FSR 4 and DLSS4, AMD really closed the gap here, but the older generation unfortunately does not support FSR 4. So NVIDIA definitely has an advantage here. But if we're looking at raw performance, it was very hard to find reliable data, so take what I'm going to say with a bit of salt, but it seems like the NVIDIA option is about 30 to 50% faster compared to the AMD option. I didn't research this extensively, so but yeah, it's nice to see some extra options here. If you're gonna game, I'd probably just go for the NVIDIA option. If you're really on a tight budget, then the AMD option is of course still perfectly fine, but of course the NVIDIA one is gonna be faster. It has better AI upscaling options, and also, also better ray tracing. And of course, if you're somebody that does professional work that uses GPUs, having CUDA support it can be a make or break feature. So if you need CUDA support, NVIDIA is the only option for you here. So yeah. Of course, do be aware, however, that it only comes with 8 gigabytes of video memory, which is a bit limiting. There are some AAA games right now that will need to have their quality settings dialed down to run on an 8 gigabyte card. And it's really a shame to see that NVIDIA offers an 8 gigabyte option in this day and age. It's really quite embarrassing, but especially if you look to the prices of video memory, it doesn't make sense to offer an 8 gigabyte option, but corporate greed. Alright, the next thing I'm gonna go over a bit faster, because this is something I already, everything else here is something I discussed in my previous video. Memory, if you're unsure what to pick, go for 2 sticks of 8, so you have a total of 16 gigabytes. If you're a gamer and you have the extra money to spend, you might want to consider 32 gigabytes. And if you're somebody that does productivity workloads that need a lot of memory, then of course it makes sense to go for higher. But for most users, 16 gigabytes. If you're a gamer on a budget, 16 gigabytes is still perfectly fine. If you're a gamer with a bigger budget, maybe go for 32. Not a really big deal. And if you want to save a bit of money, you can also go and bring your own. And I discussed in my previous video on how to shop for your own RAM. So if you're interested in saving a bit of money, I think I saved about 100, or was it 80 or 100 euros on the memory by just buying my own. But if you want to, just get from Framework so you know that it works, that's also perfectly fine. In terms of storage, the Framework gets their SSDs from Western Digital. It's the Western Digital Black drives, which are perfectly fine drives. You can also buy your own. Unless you're doing video editing or those kind of things where you move a lot of big files around all the time, the speed of the drive is not gonna matter. There are a lot of theoretical speed differences between drives, but in practice those every modern drive is fast enough in practice, unless, like I said, you're going to be doing a lot of video editing or moving around big files. In that case, you might want to go for a more expensive and faster drive. For most people in practice, the speed difference between drives is pretty much zero. So buy whatever drive you like, just make sure you get a big enough drive, because although Framework has a secondary storage option, so you can, if you order a drive and you run out of space, you can still buy a second drive, but that storage slot only supports drive of 30 millimeters, and those are typically a bit more expensive than the full-size drives. But of course, if you do run out of space and you need the extra storage, it's nice to still have the option of getting a secondary drive. Then for operating system, if you're going to work in a corporate environment, you'll probably want to go for Windows 11 Pro. Otherwise, go for Windows 11 Home, or go for Linux or whatever floats your boat. Lots of options here. Don't bother with those sketchy sites that offer Windows keys for very cheap. Although those keys are often genuine, they're often from lower income markets, and it violates the Microsoft terms, like the terms you agree to as a user, and Microsoft can actually blacklist your key, which actually happened to me. I once bought a Windows key from one of those sites. It was blacklisted, the key stopped working, and I had to get a refund from the webshop where I ordered, which fortunately I could because it was a Dutch webshop. But I'd say either buy from Framework directly or from Microsoft directly, or just don't buy a key at all. Don't bother with those sketchy sites. Just don't do it. That's my advice. Then with the power adapter, this is actually different from the previous. Before this, you could get a 180 watt power brick from Framework. Now they have a new option for a 240 watts power adapter. 120 euros seems a decent price, and if you don't yet have a power adapter that can deliver at least 100 watts or 180 watts if you have the graphics module, I'd suggest just buying from Framework. Then the bezel, of course, different colors, that's just personal preference. I went for black because I'm a boring person and a cheapskate. Keyboard, pick whatever option you like. Be aware that there are RGB variants that have like colored backlighting for the key if you're into that kind of thing. I just went for international English because, again, I'm a boring person. Then you have the input modules. You can get the spacer module, which is basically just a module that you can use to move your keyboard around. Or you can get a numpad, or you can get an RGB macro pad. And an RGB macro pad is basically a small programmable keyboard where you can use the Framework software to program what the keys do. So that's pretty cool. Expansion cards, pretty much the same as last time. I think the HDMI and DisplayPort cards were updated a little bit, but nothing really major there. And that pretty much concludes the video. So if you were planning on ordering a Framework Laptop 16 and didn't know what to pick, and I hope this video helped you in deciding what options you want to go for. If you still have questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was helpful.